Hola clase, bienvenidos al primer video de gramática de esta semana. Este video es muy importante porque es de verbos y conjugación y without verbos y conjugación no puedes hablar español. You cannot speak Spanish without verbs and conjugation. So, es muy importante. Por favor, watch this video several times if you have to. But you need to get this concept before you can move on. If you don't understand this concept, you will not be able to complete the course. So make sure that you really get a handle on this before you move on in this class. And if you really are struggling with it, then set up an appointment to meet with me or something outside of the class, because that will hopefully help you answer some questions on a personal basis. Muy bien. So, basic present tense conjugations for verbs that end in AR. When we were in the vocabulary folder, you guys, we talked about how the infinitive verbs end in AR, ER, and IR, right? And we saw some of the examples of each of those verbs. So right now we're going to learn what the other endings are that you could possibly change it to other than O, because we already did that in the vocab section as well. But for right now we get to learn how to do the other endings that you can change it to. So when you have a verb that ends in AR, por ejemplo, hablar, you have to take off the AR and put one of these endings on the word. So you leave the whole beginning of the word, the whole root of the word, H-A-B-L. Hablo, 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 hablo. And those stay the same. You just change the ending, and then that changes who is doing the verb. So if I am doing the verb, yo, then I would put O on the end. If tú, you, are doing the verb, then you would put as on the end. If he, she, or it is doing the verb, then you would put an a on the end, or just leave the vowel that's originally there if you want to think about it like that. Just take off the r. Nosotros, if we are doing the action, then we'd put amos on the end, and if they are doing the action, then we'd put an on the end. There's lots of ways to remember these endings. You can just memorize them. O, as, a, amos, an. O, as, a, amos, an. O, as, a, amos, an. And do that a million times until you remember. It's O, as, a, amos, an. O, as, a, amos, an. And we're always going to do them in this order, remember? Back in week 1, when we were, or not week 1, excuse me, week 2, when we were doing the subject pronouns, I told you we were always going to have this format where we always had first person, second person, third person, singular on the left side and plural on the right side. Well, we're still having that with the verbs. So we have this chart. The first person is on the top, second person is in the middle, third person is on the bottom. Usted, remember, is you formal, and then ustedes means you guys plural. Alright, so it's just O, as, a, amos, an. The yo is easy to remember as O because they rhyme. Yo, O. Some people like to remember two with the as because they like to think you're an ass. So you goes with as. Él, ella, and usted is just one person, so just think about taking off that R and leaving the vowel that was already there. And then with nosotros, mos and nos rhyme, so you can think of keeping those together, nos and mos. And then this one, ustedes and ellos, it's similar to this one, only instead of taking off the R, just change the R into an N. Extend the R, so to speak, and then you add more to it. So think about if you're adding to the R, then maybe you've got more than one person. If that confuses you, then just ignore it. But Okay, so quick mention here. We always have a blank box here because this is the you formal form that they use in Spain only, and we don't use that in any other country. So I'm not going to make you memorize it for quizzes and stuff, but it is in your textbook if you're curious. So that's the reason there's a blank there always, and there's also a blank up here in between nosotros and ellos, because we always want to keep everything lined up so that we can keep our people straight. But here it's really obvious in the little chart form. Yeah, so I'm just not going to make you memorize that ending, but anywhere you go, especially in the video after this, the next video down, you will see in the conjugations back video, they do study that middle, that other verb form, but you don't have to worry about it, okay? You just have to know that it exists, and that's why there's a blank spot there. Okay, excelente. O, as, a, amos, an. Just go through and memorize that as many times as possible. There's lots and lots of songs on the internet that'll help you, and I'm going to post some of them down here as well. So feel free to use them as many times as you need to practice and to learn and get comfortable with these endings. As we also mentioned in one of the videos in the vocab section, that once you put these endings on, if you notice, no one else but yo could have an ending o. No one else but tú could have an ending as. No one else but nosotros could have an ending amos, etc. So once you put the right ending on there, you don't always have to say nosotros or yo or tú or él or ella or usted or ellos or ustedes. The only reason they're there right now is so that we don't get confused about who we're talking about. So I can just as easily say hablo español as I could yo hablo español. When I say yo hablo español, I'm kind of being a little bit redundant, but it's not incorrect. It's just extra emphasis on the fact that it's me. I am speaking. Muy bien. I think that's everything for that part. So now if you understand it, we should be able to fix these words in the práctica. So, esta noche hay una fiesta. Why don't you repeat after me? Practice your pronunciation while we're at it. So, esta noche, tonight, hay una fiesta en el edificio de apartamentos de Marcos y Julio. So there's a party in the building, the apartment building of Marcos y Julio. Todos los estudiantes, so all the students. How do you change cantar? How do you say they all sing? Well, who's they? Let's go back one page. They is ellos, right? So ellos gets an an ending. An. So if it's ellos, you just take off the ar and put an and write. So it'd be todos los estudiantes cantan y bailan, because this is going to be the same, right? They sing and they dance. Una persona, now it's only one person, right? So what do we do to make it one person? Come back up here. And it's an L and AR instead. So una persona. So it's a he, she, or it, right? So it's just going to be an A. So una persona toca. Toca. La guitarra. So one person plays the guitarra. Y otras personas. Okay, now we're plural again. Otras personas, other people, listen to the music, right? We just learned they right up here. So cantan y bailan. So this one's going to be escuchan. Y otras personas escuchan la música. Muy bien. So Jaime, that's one person now. He, she, or it. Jaime. Busca. So he looks for una Coca-Cola. Jaime busca, because we just did one person up here. Toca. Jaime busca una Coca-Cola. Marta, she's a she, but she's still one person. So he, she, and it always get the same ending. Marta habla. So Jaime busca. Marta habla con un amigo, with a friend. Maria, she's still a he, she, and it, right? Maria is just a girl. Desea, she wants, or she desires, to teach, enseñarles a todos un baile de Colombia. So she wants to teach them all a dance from Colombia. Todos los estudiantes, so all the students desean bailar con el estudiante mexicano. We don't have to change bailar because it's next to desear. We want to notice that if you have two verbs together, the second one never conjugates. Only the first one does. So all the students desire, desean, bailar. So they all desire to dance con el estudiante mexicano. So notice this is all feminine. So todas las estudiantes. So all the girl students want to dance with the Mexican student who's a guy. El estudiante mexicano. Then you say he dances very well. So that's a he. What happened with Jaime and Marta and María? So it's he baila. Muy bien. So Jaime busca, Marta habla, María desea, y él baila. So they all, you just cut off the R on all of them, and they are all just he, she, it. La fiesta es estupenda. So the fiesta is stupendous. Pero todos, everybody needs to go home early. So everybody, that's them or they, all of them. La fiesta es estupenda, pero todos necesitan, because remember we learned they up here. Los estudiantes cantan y bailan, otras personas escuchan, pero todos necesitan regresar a casa temprano. So they all need to go home early or return home early. Hay clases mañana. There are classes tomorrow. So notice, necesitar is next to regresar. They're both verbs. If you look at the ending here, this one stays infinitive because why? Because it's next to necesitar, which does change. Todos necesitan regresar. So remember, two verbs together, second one never conjugates. If you want to practice, there are some exercises in la página 63, which you can do. These are just e-text activities, so they're optional. However, they are very useful. What I want you to do now is go practice through the songs that are underneath this video, and the worksheets that I made for you. You can also look at the answer keys to make sure that you're doing everything correctly. If you do the e-text activities, you may not get the answers right away. So, muy bien, buena suerte. Hasta pronto, clase. Adiós.